Welcome to Dental Success Beyond Chairside, the podcast that's dedicated to revolutionising the way dental professionals succeed beyond the dental chair. Join us for a unique blend of insightful interviews with industry experts to help you thrive in your dental specialist practice. In each 20-minute episode, we'll delve into a variety of subjects, including HR, marketing, innovative techniques and systems, and AI to help transform your practice and unlock its full potential. Whether you're a dentist or specialist looking to enhance your practice, this podcast is your go-to resource for professional, personal, and profitable success. Hello and welcome everyone to today's episode. Are you a dental practice owner who struggles to understand your team, or are you looking to hire new staff and unsure how they'll fit in with the existing team? Acceptance of others is key to building strong relationships. But how can you achieve this? Today, I'm joined by Jackie Le Roux, an entrepreneur, business mentor, and people connector. I met her through the Her Business Network, and we connected over her advocacy of personality testing using the DISC method. She believes that teamwork makes the dream work. Jackie, can you tell us a bit about yourself and why you believe personality testing is important in any business?
Well, that was a fantastic introduction, Michelle. Thank you. And people connector is the word that I resonate, well, the phrase that I resonate with. I've always loved people, although when I started in my sales career in my business, I didn't understand the differences of the way people communicate and connect. And when I discovered DISC, which is the personality profiling assessment tool that I use, my whole world changed. Up until then, I was trying to communicate with people in the way that I communicate, which is only 1/4 of the personality styles. When I first started my selling career, actually it was in the direct sales space. I remember standing on the street corner with a bag of raffle tickets, speaking to passers-by. That I had such a passion in my heart to fulfill my dream and my purpose, because I had kids at home and I wanted child-friendly hours. But the thing that I learned about that was that I needed to build connections with people. When I was taught about DISC in this particular company that I was part of, my whole world changed. The thing that blew me away was they explained to me that, yes, you can sell to people, but if you sell in the way that they communicate, the way that their brain is wired, your sales will improve, which is exactly what happened in my business. In that first year, I was in the top 30 of Australia. And earned a trip to Dallas, Texas. I didn't know I was any good at sales. So that to me was evidence that this thing worked. From that point on, I've been passionate about this area because I have seen the fruit of it myself and seeing how that actually builds relationship and trust. I guess that's the most important thing about being a people connector, is how do I build trust and rapport with someone so that they'll want to buy from me again. So actually, the interesting thing in that period, I was in that space for over 17 years. I would have met over 10,000 people easily.
Moving into from a small business perspective, and now you've moved into your own business in this particular area, how have you found that the personality, because this was obviously associated with sales when you were in your career previously, but how do the dynamics of a team work with personality testing?
I love that question. Personality profiling, there's two ways to look at it. There's your natural style, which is who you are when you're in your comfortable zone. But when you put people in a team or in a work environment, there's what we call an adjusted style. So obviously, if you're in a role, like I'm thinking in the dental space, it's obviously a very compliance-based role. Some people might not be as good as with attention to detail as others. But because there's 4 different personality types, there's different ways of expressing strengths. So there might be strengths in attention to detail. There might be strengths in achieving goals. There might be strengths in working with people and actually building community, and others that are really better in sales. So if you put all those people, those different personality types into a team environment, that's where we get the adjusted style, because we all have to get on with one another. Think of a family. right? You've got a family, a mum, a dad, maybe and a couple of teenagers, all different personality types, put them in one environment, how they're going to get on and understand one another. It's a similar thing in that we are also uniquely different. We all have strengths. How do we bring that together to increase productivity and collaborate even though we're different? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So dynamics of understanding where people's strengths lie and putting them in the area within the practice. Obviously, we're talking dental practices, having a person who's a people connector with the sales type of thing, person that with attention to detail, you make sure that you put them on the notes or when they're scanning and things like that. You've got your leaders and everything as well. They're going to be the managers. What have you seen in real life? Have you got some real life examples of how you've gone into small business places, done this personality testing and seen the productivity and efficiency increase?
Yes. Let me use an example where I've seen the lack of productivity, and then I'll talk about how that helps people identify where the gaps are. I worked with one particular team in an allied health space, and they had over 30 staff, and they were having a lot of issues. They'd been going for 10 years, doing very well, but they were finding there was a lot of conflict on the team, and they'd had a few consultants come in and try and resolve whatever the issue was. They couldn't identify the root cause. When we did the diagnostic with the DISC modality, and then we compiled it into a team report, we were able to see exactly what the problems were. When I showed it to the two owners, and they had a look at the chart of the team, and they said, is it a problem we have no one in the D quadrant? So whilst they had an amazing team, they'd given so much freedom to the team to express themselves as individuals. There was no one, I guess, if think of about a ship, there was no one at the helm of the ship directing the ships. That's the D personality. In fact, they're only 3% of the population. This is based on research of 27,000 people. This is empirical data. They had no leadership, and that was causing a lot of conflict on the team and a lot of confusion. They were then able to address that issue by hiring the right manager to lead the team. Looking at gaps helps you identify what you then need to put in place, if that makes sense, the right fit for the right role.
I was just going to say, with that example, particularly with allied health, and I feel dental is very much the same. The dental owners, they're practitioners, they have empathy, they've gone into a health environment because they want to help people. Quite often the dental assistants are very much the same with that personality. They have empathy, they don't like conflict. So that D personality, as you said, is often missing because they are all the same. And I feel like understanding that is a really big thing. And you identified that even though the two owners were the owners, they weren't leaders. They had to get a manager to actually get that personality. That's what I personally advocate in dental practices, because trying to be the owner, the manager and the practitioner, it doesn't necessarily work. And it's because of that dynamics of what you're talking about with personalities, because you have a high contingent of people with a similar personality because you are in the health environment. What do you think, Jackie?
Yes, 100%. In fact, in this particular example, there were a lot of C personalities and S personalities. DISC is an acronym, and it was developed by a guy called Dr. William Marston in the 1920s. It was based on centuries of research with the philosophers observing 4 different types of personality. The D stands for dominant, or think of a lion, 3% of the population. The I stands for influence. Think of the peacock, that is 11% of the population. S is steadiness, and that is the golden retriever. That accounts for the vast majority, which is 69%. The final one is the C for compliance, which is the beaver, and is actually 17%. In a typical team, you will have the vast majority will be the S or the C. In fact, those personalities are very empathetic, and particularly the S's, and they are drawn to health. You will find that the biggest, makeup of the team dynamic would be the S's. However, they may or may not be, they can certainly be a leader. There's no doubt about that. But it takes a lot of energy to actually be the leader, to take the whole team on the journey of these are our objectives and our KPIs and et cetera, right? Identifying the strengths, this is coming back to what I was saying earlier, helps you know the right fit for the right role. S's are motivated through values. If they know that they're cared about by the leader, they're very loyal. And their highest, goal is financial security for their family. That's why we use the golden retriever. If you've got a big group of people that are a certain personality type and not perhaps showing the strength of a leader, it can actually cause a lot of stress and conflict and challenge in the team. Once we identify that and the people understand how they're wired as an individual, but then also who in the team has the strengths that they don't have to fulfill the role that they need to complement them, if that makes sense. If you think of it like a puzzle, that everybody has their part to play. And when you put everybody in the right role with the right puzzle to fill that complete picture, the whole team thrives and people actually improve productivity. I've seen productivity increase by 30%. You mentioned productivity earlier. Definitely knowing patterns of behavior and helping people work in that, I call them people smart skills, will increase productivity, but also increase sales. Because if everybody's happy and in their right area and feeling supported and valued and leveraging their strengths, then everybody thrives.
Absolutely. Yes, I totally agree with you. I feel a lot of dental practices are all golden retrievers because they are all just so beautiful and like, yes. And I really advocate values and having values in a practice as well as those foundations for success. Perhaps by owners identifying that their personalities make a big difference in how the dynamics of a practice actually work for efficiency, productivity, with everybody enjoying coming to work, for attracting the right people, for retaining the right people, for patient excellence, satisfaction with team and everything like that. Understanding how they all fit together is really important. And this is what I see all the time when they look for someone. It'll be, are you a qualified dental assistant? Have you got experience? Yes, I'm going to scoop you up before the next person does, but they're just getting another golden retriever on board.
Wow, that is such a powerful insight. I will say this. If people are put in the wrong role and they're asked to do things, like in this particular scenario with the allied health example, the person that was in charge was actually an I personality and was wanting to be friends with everybody, which is great, but was struggling to achieve the goals and the targets and bring everybody on the journey. It's interesting. If people are operating in an area that's not their strength, they can actually burn out.
In dental practices, that's what I see is you've got your lovely golden retrievers and you've got this influencer personality who is going to perhaps be elevated to a practice manager role or a clinical coordinator role, but they're friends with everybody. So because they're friends with everybody, they want to appease everybody and they more work for the team rather than working for the owner as a manager and a business. Have you seen that before, Jackie?
Yes, I have, and it's not really their fault. I'll explain this in a different way. So I've often seen patterns in business where somebody who's very good at their job is promoted, or they might start a business. Like, look at the dental area. They might be fantastic technically. I've worked in the car sector. I've worked with tradies. I've worked with a whole bunch of real estate agents. They might be fantastic at sales or technically good in their particular space. However, they may have not been given people skills training, which is a separate skill set. And it's not really anybody's fault that they haven't been given that, because they get promoted, or start a business. And the other thing I'll add to that, for business owners, that's a different skill set too. You've got your technically good skill set, if you like, for want of a better word, your people smart skills, and then your leadership or business skills. Those are all different pathways of expertise. These last two areas I'm particularly passionate about, because if we're not focusing on the goal of the business, as you said, the goal of the business, which was happening with this particular team, they literally were going round and round in circles, but also the people smart skills, which is a whole nother skill set, then, they're going to struggle. It's not fair. I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but it's not their fault. And, that they haven't been given that skill set. I feel quite passionate about this area because I want to see businesses thrive. I want to see, if businesses thrive, they're the engine room of the country. I don't know if you're aware of these stats, Michelle, but the stats by the Institute of Leadership and Management is you can lose up to $21,000 for every team member you need to replace. fact, I've spoken to a lot of business owners and they've told me it's more like 60,000. How those things can be minimized if these people smart skills and how we hire people, putting them in the right role, helping them achieve their targets, giving them the tools they need, which I believe is DISC. We run a DISC team report, gives you a snapshot of the strengths and weaknesses of the whole team. If you're recruiting, for example, you can look at the team, the snapshot and go, where are the gaps? You're not really looking for a unicorn. This is why I think people make an error when they're recruiting. They go, I want somebody who's good with attention to detail, good with people, good with sales, blah, 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 all the things. But if they're good with detail, they might not be as good with people. I don't know that we can sometimes you get the combination, and I'm not trying to say people who are good at detail are not good with people, but I'm saying their strengths will be in a certain area. And capitalizing on that strength will actually help the team thrive because that person's thriving. And then there's less conflict, there's less stress. The unicorn, I don't think really exists. I think we need to hire for specialized areas, and then the business itself will thrive.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about a person coming in and not having those leadership skills and those management skills. That basically is what happens with a dentist or a dental specialist. They go in, they graduate, they go and buy a car, then they go and work for someone that's like, I'll go and buy my own business now. What would be the next steps for practice owners now?
I think, first of all, if it was myself, I'd be looking at trying to find out a little bit about how I'm wired as an individual. I'd be looking at doing my own DISC report. If you're in a partnership with two owners, there's a pairing report that you can do to look at how your dynamics are. The second thing I would look at is your team. What are the individuals in your team? Because it also helps you to motivate them. What is the ideal environment? What's the ideal role? It helps you put people in the right role and really help. It gives you the diagnostic tool on your individuals in your team and as a team, but it also gives you a professional development plan for them. And that will help motivate them. That will help you retain those staff. It takes so much money to hire these people. It's, really important. How do we retain them? How do we look after them? How do we invest in them? Research shows for every dollar you spend on your staff, on your team, you'll get $4 in return on investment. That's a fantastic area to invest in. One of your best assets is your team.
Absolutely. Your team is your biggest asset. They're also your biggest expense, but if you invest in them, I think, as you said, you really will get that return. The insights you've given us, always known the cost is up to $21,000 in hiring a new staff member. You really want to have that team engaged and focused. You want them to love coming to work because you will love coming to work as well. So understanding where each strength lies within each person, being able to motivate them differently, you can see how understanding that is just going to make your practice thrive. So in summary, I love the insights that you've shared with us today. I think, dental practice owners really have to understand the strengths of where you need people. And a lot of dentists also don't understand that initial consultation is a sales transaction, even though they go, well, we're just giving them what they need. Well, that is, you're giving them what they need, but the people have to understand that. So having a person with strength to get those treatment conversions as well is very important. I think the biggest pain point for most dentists is human resources. So understanding these types of things, Jackie, is really fantastic. I really thank you for coming on today and sharing your amazing story of where you came from, how you advocate this personality testing. For more information about Jackie and her work, please look at the links in our episode description. Thank you so much for coming on again, Jackie. Really appreciate that.
It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast or YouTube channel. Your feedback helps us bring you more valuable content and inspiring stories from leaders in the dental industry. In our next episode of Dental Success Beyond Chairside, we'll be joined by Veronica Smith, founder of Epic Solutions. Veronica is passionate about creating awesome workplaces and believes that strong values are the foundation of any successful business. If you're looking to strengthen your practice's culture and inspire your team to do their best work, you won't want to miss this episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.